I like this one a lot, and I want to hear more about it. This thought number 30, and I'll read it to you. It says, your legacy leaves the footprints that guide the paths for others.
I can add little to that, because we all forget often that the things that we do for other people or we do around other people build your legacy to those people. And that legacy is the footprints you leave on those people's lives. You leave behind, not necessarily when you've passed away, but when you've moved on in a job or no longer around them on a day-to-day basis, you leave behind footprints that they sometimes unknowingly accept the information, accept the way that you did something, accept that that's good best practice because of your legacy of what you've told them. It's really simple. All of us should remember, for good or for bad, sometimes for the bad, is to, your legacy is going to leave footprints on other people's lives.
Yeah, I think I really like that, and one of the things that's intriguing about that as an older guy looking back on it is that, people may not remember where they got an idea, or they got, your memories of me may have passed away, or they don't remember Smallman, and it really doesn't matter to us. I mean, the facts are they got the footprints.
Yes.
And they're guided.
Yes. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of that book is exactly that. They are things I heard over the last 55 years, and you could probably catch me out by going, where did you hear that? And I would struggle to think, where did I hear that? How did I get that piece of information? But the stories are slightly different because the stories are things that are very, very easy to recall because they're all things that have happened, right? Or they are some of them are a mishmash of two or three things that happened to create the story. But certainly with the thoughts, I can't tell you where or what triggered that. I might be able to tell you when I made a note of it, because my little brown book has notations in it from where I heard it, where I was. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it will tell you how I heard it, or certainly from whom I might have heard it. And the later ones are often things that have come to me through another thought. So I will have reread or looked at one of the thoughts and thought, excuse me, that's too many thoughts, but and come to another conclusion about the same subject. That often happens. There are within the little brown book, there are strings of thoughts where I started by writing one, and that triggered a second one, and then maybe a third one. And they're themed. They're not all exactly the same, but there is a theme to them. If you put the three thoughts down together, 1, 2, 3, you would see a theme, right? So yes, but the legacy thing is important. It's interesting. What you leave behind is very interesting.
And on top of that, and going a bit further, I mean, I'm sure you've had it happen to you as it has to me, where people would come up to you, a younger person would come up to you and say, boy, something that you said to me, and they'd name it, meant so much to me, and it's totally gone out of your head. I mean, it's kind of like, I didn't, and maybe it's a little bit scary knowing that you can have that much influence on somebody, and to you, it was no big deal. To them, it changed their life, or changed at least certain decision-making process they may have had.
Yeah, I've had that happen. Yes, I agree with you. Whilst you were talking, I can recall an incident at a university in the United States where I did the dean of the business school lecture, student thing, 200 or 300 students in a room, and the dean started by asking me a question about South Africa. He knew I'd been to South Africa, and South Africa happened to be in the international news on that particular day. And I made what I thought was just a fairly straightforward comment about the situation in South Africa and my experience of doing some business in South Africa, and we moved on to the next question quite quickly. And it was right at the beginning, and by the time we got to the end of the hour and 10 minutes, I wouldn't have readily recalled the fact we'd discussed South Africa. And a kid from the back of the auditorium literally ran down the steps to get to the well of the lecture theatre and to speak to me, and said to me, "Thank you. You have answered a question for me that has been worrying me for 2 years about South Africa, and in your comments this morning, you answered that question. Thank you very much." And just turned on his heel and walked away. And it was quite a sort of boom moment, you know. You think, oh, really? As you say, you don't. Your legacy leaves behind things for people that you haven't got a clue what they were. I mean, if he'd never said anything, if he'd never come down the steps, to this day I wouldn't have known it had any effect on him, but I clearly did, for whatever reason.